So this is exercise 10C, question 7. The area of a circular disc increases from 100 pi to 101 pi centimeters squared. Find the corresponding increase in the radius. So this is a question about linear approximation. In this case, we're not asked to find the new radius, we're just asked to find the increase in the radius. So we use the formula that the change in R is approximately equal to h f dashed of A, where h is change in A, f is R in terms of A, and A is the initial value of A. A little bit confusing because I'm using A in two different respects, but I hope you'll manage. So in this case, what is the increase, the change in A? So h is 100 pi to 101 pi, so it's 1 pi. Now f is R in terms of A. That's going to be a little bit harder to find. Well, what do we know about R in terms of A? Well, we know that A is pi r squared, so R is the square root of A on pi. Might be a little bit easier to split that into two, so it's 1 over root pi times root A. So dr by dA, which we're going to need for this part, we need to differentiate in order to get to this part of the formula. So we're going to have to differentiate R by A, and that's going to give us the 1 over root pi sits outside, and the root A, that's A to the power of a half, when you differentiate that becomes 1 over 2 root A. A to the power of a half, let's just remember, if R equals A to the power of a half, then dr by dA equals, the half comes down, and it's A to the minus a half, which is exactly what we have here. This is A to the minus a half, 1 over root A times a half. So we're now ready to fill in all the bits of our equation. The change in R is approximately equal to h f dashed of A, where A now is the initial value of A in the equation. So change is approximately equal to h. Now what is h? Well, the question tells us that the area has gone from 100 pi to 101 pi. That's why we said that h was 1 pi. So using h in the formula here, we write down pi. F dashed of A is the next part. We found out what f dashed is. Now we have to evaluate it at the initial value of A before the change. So the initial value of A is 100 pi. So we place A by 100 pi in this equation here. So that gives us, what we've got there is h times 1 over root pi times 1 over 2 times the square root of the original value of A, which is 100 pi. Now lots of things are going to cancel. We have here a pi times 1 over root pi times 1 over root pi. Root pi times root pi is pi, so you've got pi divided by pi, which just cancels. 1 times 1, there's also not much to say there. Divided by 2 times root 100. Well, root of 100 is 10, 2 times 10 is 20, so that gives, the approximation is 1 over 20. Let's check the units. It's going to be an increase in the radius, so it's going to be a centimeter, because the original units were centimeters squared. That tells, for the area, that tells us that the units for the radius is centimeters. And that concludes the question.